you brought up motivation and discipline. Even when you're not motivated, you still have to have discipline. And I think we undervalue discipline and we overvalue motivation. What's up, dude?
That's perfect. They got a baseball bat.
I found this baseball bat in your Austin place, so I
club.
figured I'd pick it up.
So, in case Mike Chandler wasn't tough enough, now he's got a club.
Now I got a bat.
Now he's got a bat.
Fire bat.
For anybody that doesn't have a television or a cell phone, this is Michael Chandler. And Michael Chandler is a Bellator champion. He's currently in UFC champion at Bellator at least 3 times. Is it 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. How many times were you a champion fighter? Me neither. Mike, 3 times. And
We're working on that. We worked on that today.
we're working on it. I think I got to join the seniors league and fight somebody smaller than me.
We'll make it just for you.
So Mike's a buddy of mine. We had some mutual friends that introduced us a while back and hung out in Florida, and he's visiting in Chicago for the week. We're spending a few days together over here working on some training, filling in the blanks in the Moneyberg wrestling program. So which means he's been choking me and body slamming each other and other such things for the past couple of days. And we have a second session tonight. We just got done training now. We're going to have a protein shake and chat with you folks and get back at it later tonight and get back at it again tomorrow. So, I thought, you're a guy that has, some really deep insights and, digging deeper, working harder. And I think it's most people, look, my clients, anybody that's in this program, that they're already an above average person. I don't just say that shit to say nice things or fucking marketing. It's like, we don't allow losers in the program. Mm-hmm. And we're only 1 week away from the end. So any loser that accidentally happened on, they got kicked off a long time ago or they already gave up on themselves. Yep. So at this point in the program, these are people that they're good at something. They've been working their ass off for the last 9 weeks to be here, at least 20 hours a week. Some of them probably work 40, 50 hours a week, but at least 20 hours a week, all of them. And these people that they're good at something and wanted to be better at this too. They wanted to go make real money in real estate. A lot of them have already been through my Moneyberg mentoring course about entrepreneurship or my stock markets course, Markets Mastery. So these are serious people that can relate to that topic. If it was a general audience, I wouldn't bring up this topic with you because they wouldn't fucking understand what we're saying anyway. Yeah. But what is your thought about that? We were chatting about it when we were during training earlier. That there's a level of uncomfortableness. You might think about it in different words, but there's a level of discomfort that a person's willing to tolerate, and then a lot of people give up. And there's a lot of stages to that where a person will say, "Oh," they might have a positive mindset. "Oh, I accomplished my goal, so I can give up now." Or, "Hey, I did even more than I thought I could, so I could give up now." Or, "Well, I thought I wanted the thing, but it's kind of tough, so I could give up now."
Yeah.
What is your take on some of those negotiations and renegotiations and so on, or the art of setting an appropriate goal to begin with that would help one to be an accomplished winner like yourself?
Well, I think you brought up a good word. Because we don't. A lot of the people on this call might be cognizant or self-aware of it, but that word negotiation, where we really are negotiating with ourselves every single day. The first thing you're doing in the morning is starting the negotiations with yourself on whether or not you're going to hit the snooze button, whether it's audibly and you're actually speaking, okay, why do I want to stay in bed? Why do I not want to stay in bed? What do I have to get done? Or you're just laying there, it's warm, it's comfortable, you don't want to get the day going yet. So I love this idea, and we've talked about it a lot over the last couple of days too, is that negotiations with yourself. And then another word is justifications. They start out with small justifications of why you can't do something, and not that you're not able to do it, or not that you don't have the skills to do it, the resources to do it, the people around you to do it, but you don't have the certain plan in place and enough gumption to get something done or continue in your course of action to actually hit that target, to hit that bullseye, to have a target, or to have a goal in mind. So you start making small justifications with yourself. And then something else we brought up earlier too was that delayed gratification. A lot of times it's the justifications between yourself and your goal that continue to make, whether it be making excuses, whether it be cutting corners, and then cutting corners might work for a month, might work for another month, but before you know it, those small justifications, those small cutting of the corners, those staying inside of your comfort zone and continuing to shrink down the justifying and shrinking down of the goal, that it wasn't as important as we thought it was, or it wasn't, because we've all done that too, right? It's not really something I want. I've had a change of heart, or the economy this, or the president that, or the mandates this, or the people in my life that, you know. So I think it's just, number one, focusing on the fact that anybody that you've ever looked up to, ever admired, the people that are on here who have sought you out and know the knowledge that you have and know what you bring to the table and the knowledge you have, or even my fans, followers, supporters, seen what I've done. When anybody that you see and look and admire somebody, they've had to go through constant trials, the constant breaking through of the justifications that we all have them inside of us. It's human nature to take the easy way out, to take the path of least resistance. And it's the ones that fight those urges that eventually continue to put one foot in front of the other and reach their goals.
You know, I think what you said is spot on. And that one foot in front of the other is, some people, they don't got that oomph. Yeah. And they there's a subset of those people, a lot of them, a common word that they use is like, you know, I'm not motivated all the time. When somebody writes me, you know, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram, or somebody writes me a DM and they say, well, Derek, but I'm not motivated to blah, blah, blah. Or you know, or sometimes the most gross one, the one that makes me feel like nauseous, is when they say, well, you know, you're a motivational coach, you know, help me be more motivated. And I'm not a motivational coach. I intentionally tell the public, like, if you're not already deeply motivated, you're not qualified to be my client. There's a reason you can't go buy a program from me off a website. They have to fill out an application and have an interview, and sometimes a second interview to even be a client. Mm-hmm. So I don't want the wrong person to accidentally click a button and use their daddy's credit card or something, and they think I'm not a motivational coach. Yep. I'd never want to work with somebody that's not already, you know, deeply motivated internally. They have. I think it helps if you have an anger with your current circumstances, which I haven't discussed this with you, but it's a thought that I've held a lot, and I've certainly used anger or fear, two separate things that are related in my head. I've certainly used fear and anger as tools to get myself motivated. That you know, and when you lack motivation, you still got to use your discipline. Yep. You still got to be disciplined. So, you know, lack of motivation is not an excuse for a half-assed performance in life. It's not a, you know, and you do enough things half-assed, and pretty soon your whole life is half-assed. It's not, you know, you got a pattern of behavior there and of what you'll accept, and you start making, you know, justifications, and, you know, which is a polite word for excuses in many cases. You start making excuses for a lot of your circumstances. So that, you know, oh, but you know so and so didn't make it easy for me, but so and so had an advantage that I didn't. Well, I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of disadvantages, and you know, as a little kid, I might have laid around, you know, when I was like 7 or 8, and like cried about it a little bit, like, oh, this is not fair, or that's not fair. Yeah. And then, you know, you pray for a divine intervention to make your life ideal. Yep. I don't think God works that way.
Never happens.
Never happens. So, you know, by about age 10, I thought, well, what's some things I could do? What could I do to make things a little better? And I start moving on that path of personal responsibility. For me, it was about age 10. Mm-hmm. Do you have a moment like that, a time in life where, I know you had a very nice family and a supportive family in many ways, but did you have a click in your head that, you know what, I'm going to get the best outcomes if I just take total responsibility for my inputs here?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, and we've covered this too, as, you know, just in our talks and as we talk about me as a fighter, me as a businessman, a father, a husband, all these different things. You know, I struggled a lot with self-image growing up. I was a small guy from a small town who was taught to do small things, and I had to walk on to the University of Missouri because I wasn't getting scholarships anywhere. So I kind of had this story playing in my head that I was just a small guy, and I was only capable of small things. And maybe people on this call weren't struggling with a self-image problem, but maybe they're struggling with anything else that they're doing. But the pattern remains the same. Eventually, at some point, I stopped what I was doing, and I looked back at my life, and I realized all the times that I self-sabotaged myself And then I also took extreme ownership for those shortcomings. I wasn't going to blame it on my parents, the way that they raised me. I wasn't going to blame it on the small town. I wasn't going to blame it on the fact that nobody gave me a scholarship and I had to walk onto the team, because these were all the justifications or the excuses that I was making to myself, when really all those things were hindering me to become the man that I needed to be and breaking the promise to myself. And I think that's really what we're talking about too, the justifications and the excuses. We all make certain promises to ourselves every day, and we say, hey, I promise myself that I'm going to get this done, or I promise myself I'm going to get that done. In 6 months, this is my goal. In 1 year, this is my goal. I want my bank account to look like this. I want my business to grow to that. I want my sales to be this. I want to be a world champion. And certain things are out of your control, but so many more things are in your control than you think they are if you continue in that course of action, as we said, one foot in front of the other, doing things right, the small disciplines every single day, and building the life that you want brick by boring brick. You know, you brought up motivation and discipline. Even when you're not motivated, you still have to have discipline. And I think we undervalue discipline and we overvalue motivation. Just like those messages that people send you. Well, if I send this message right now, maybe he can give me some motivation. When really, there is literally not one thing that you could say to that person, or even one feeling of motivation that you could give to somebody who's asking for motivation. You're asking the wrong question. You need to reverse engineer the motivation of why you're doing what you want to do, and why you chose that goal from the very beginning, and then putting in place plans and courses of action with the small discipline being just as attentive to detail in the small disciplines as you are the huge goals. And then eventually those two intersect, and that's where you find yourself reaching your goal. But for me it was finally looking back when I graduated college, looking back at all the times that I self-sabotaged myself, and then finally taking ownership, realizing that it was on me. And I was in an individual sport, so of course it was on me, but even more than the actual sport of it, the way I was living my life, the way I was looking at myself, the way I would water down my goals, water down my dreams and aspirations, was unjustifiable to myself. And I was no longer gonna break that promise to myself. And I just took extreme ownership of saying, I am who I am. And who I was yesterday when I was self-sabotaging myself, I am now going to be a new person. I turned over a new leaf and made that decision, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I mean, your past is informative. That it's good to analyze your past behaviors to see like what are some of the behaviors in the past that led to more success and more prosperity and happiness in one's life, and then what are some of the things that were probably self-defeating, or they might have been good but not optimal. So what are the things that are what are things that we must continue to repeat, and what are some things that are suboptimal that we need to either cut that shit out entirely and replace it with something better, or modify the system so it's running more efficiently, And, but there's some people that dwell on their past. They're so stuck in their past, they can't, I think it's very wise what you just said, of being able to look at that and be like, you know what, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I got to do better. And that sounds simple, and on one hand it is, but it's very difficult for some people to do that. They won't make that break. They won't give themselves permission. They could make the break, but they'd rather lay on a couch for 10 years and talk to a therapist or something and say, you know what, I got to do better. I'm gonna cut that shit out right now. I'm gonna do better. And your past behaviors don't have to define your future. That you have a lot of latitude. Even if you're, even a person who's like, incarcerated or injured or crippled, and you have a lot of latitude. Focus on the things that you do control. Focus on the things that you do control psychologically. It's like, you got to shift that thought in your mind before your body or your circumstances and the world are going to shift with you. And but things changed for me. I had a couple thoughts in my head. I thought to myself that, and I've said this to them many times, and I talked about it with you briefly in the past, but I had this cruel mechanism that was very effective, so I still like it, but it was more cruel than it needed to be. I'd say to myself all the time for years and years and years, are you behaving like a champ or a chump? Mm-hmm. And I kind of micro-assessed my behaviors during the day. Is this behavior going to lead to a champion-type outcome? Are you engaging in the behaviors of a winner? Are you engaging in behaviors that are going to lead to more prosperity and more real abundance, not that hippie shit people talk about, hippie abundance, but real abundance, that you have more freedom to spend your time how you want to, more opportunities in life, higher quality opportunities in life. That's how I think about real abundance versus this metaphysical woo-woo thing that I hear some crazy people with bad hygiene talk about on the internet. So I use that many times, like you behaving like a champ or a chump. And I didn't expect, if you engaged in champion behaviors for 5 minutes and you didn't get a title or a belt,
Yep. It takes
you just
a
do it
while.
for 5 minutes and then you're fucking you get your Bellator belt or you get your fucking championship trophy at something.
Yep.
That wasn't my experience.
Nope, it doesn't happen like that.
That wasn't my experience. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to have to engage if I want to have high quality outcomes. If I want to create significant wealth, I'm going to have to engage in the behaviors of a wealthy person for a long time before that happens. Or I think that you might think of it in different words, but I think you'd agree with the core principle that, like, if you want to be a champion fighter, you have to behave like a champion. You got to train like a champion. You got to eat like a champion. You got to engage in champion behaviors for many months and likely years before that belt gets put around your waist.
Yep.
How do you think about that?
Yeah, no, a very long time. And even when you first broke into what you were saying too, the realistic expectations of how long it takes is number one, and the realistic expectations of what it takes. I think so many people do have a skewed vision on what hard work is. I think just being here with you and seeing the schedule that you keep and talking about the hours that you put in, and then you're constantly doing things, it's even opened my eyes to, and I've been around a lot of high performing individuals, and there's so much more to do than most people think. Like when you talked earlier about holidays, a lot of people have different thoughts on holidays. Whether you love holidays and you celebrate every single one of them, or you don't celebrate any of them, there's still something to be said about your mentality and what you think it takes to reach your goals. And then how long it takes doing those things day in and day out, never slacking on them, never making justifications for them, to continue to honestly deserve success. I think with the society that we live in, I think a lot of people don't understand what it takes, how long it's going to take, and whether or not they actually deserve to be successful, deserve to make that amount of money, to have that amount of sales, to reach that goal that they put in front of them. And I've always erred on the side of caution, thinking it was going to take X amount of hard work and X amount of discipline, and it was probably too much. It probably went overboard. I probably worked too hard, or I probably over dieted, or overemphasized, over detailed the things that needed to be done. But I'd much rather be done with my career, having reached all of my goals or not reached my goals, in order to put a safeguard on my mind, heart, soul, and spirit, to be able to look back and say, well, I didn't reach those goals, but I know at least I did everything I possibly could. And that's always kind of been my mentality. And I was blessed to have a mom and a dad who worked extremely hard, albeit they were in different avenues than I was. My mom was a secretary, my dad was a union carpenter, so I very much saw what hard work was. So the hard work has never been a problem for me, but I've always been realistic about what it takes to be successful. And I've also been in a sport, as we were down there doing some wrestling stuff, you start to realize you can pick things up quickly, but it takes hours and hours and thousands of reps to master these different movements, master the body mechanics, master the positioning. So I look at business kind of the same way, that it's going to take those 10,000 hours, or that arbitrary number maybe that a lot of people might say, but you have to be willing to put those in, and also excited about those. Because really, if you sit here and you're not excited about that 10,000 hours that you have to put in to reach that goal, you got to sit here and ask yourself honestly, do I really deserve to reach that goal? If I'm not excited about it, if I don't wake up enthusiastic about it, and I'm not willing to put in the time, put in the resources, and surround myself with like-minded people on the way to that goal.
I remember being in my early 20s, and I had a good work ethic. I had a few good mentors in my life by then. Teachers and mentors are a game changer, in my opinion. We'll talk about that in a second. But remember having a frustration like that I was talking with my buddies, and we were 23, 24 years old, and we were running around hitting up the most beautiful girls we could find everywhere we went. And sometimes he'd get frustrated. He'd be like, man, we did this or that, or we had a good chat, and it didn't work out the way he would have liked it to. Didn't go home with him tonight. And I'm like, bro, you're fucking like 23. Like, what have you done? What have you really done that you deserve the most beautiful girls in the world at age 23?
Yeah.
Like, what have you accomplished so far that, like, you're a smart guy, you're getting good grades, you're making a lot more money than most guys your age, but you're fucking 23.
Yep.
What have you done that you deserve the best of everything in life? And we had a laugh about that, and we laughed together and kind of it was another anchor in my head. I still remember it 19 or so years later. It was another anchor of like, well, let's double down and work harder then, because I wanted the best everything. I'm only going to live once, so I'd like to have the best opportunities, more opportunities, higher quality opportunities, more opportunities, higher quality opportunities. And I always thought to myself that, what permutation of reality could exist where you'd be disappointed, later on that you front-loaded the work in life, that you did, you worked harder than you had to up front. And, what would happen? What's the worst thing that could happen if you worked too hard? Is like, you'd have like more money, you'd be like smarter, and so, you would never wake up later in life and be, man, I wish I was dumber.
Yep.
You would never wake up later in life, man, I wish I was poor. Man, I wish my friends sucked more instead of having, a lot of fantastic winners around me. It would never happen, no reasonable person would wish for any of these miseries in life. So, like, I always thought that if I was moving in the right direction, I'd rather front load the work. I had this thought in my head that if I worked really hard for 10, 15 years, I could probably do whatever I want with the rest of my life. And funny enough, that's about exactly how it turned out. About 15 years later, when I really committed myself to that, like really, really committed myself to that, funny enough, that's about exactly how it turned out. And I wonder if I said, maybe I should have told myself 8 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I sabotaged myself there. But a game changer for me, if I go back to 10-year-old Derek and I think about where I was and where I went, I didn't know where I wanted to be. I just knew that this sucks and I want to do better and I'll do whatever it takes. And I didn't care if I suffered or struggled or looked stupid or whatever. And I still have that thought. That's still a winning thought. Like, even when we go train together, you've been wrestling for 20 years, something close to 20 years. Yeah. So, even when you and I go train, and I'm like, I'm not adverse to, I'd rather look dumb, feel dumb, fumble around with something, but I'm the type of guy that I'll pick up a couple nuances and a couple more, and pretty soon I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. So I look forward to that of like, I want to find the best mentors, the best coaches, the best teachers, the best trainers, anything that I want to focus on. Like, who are the guys that are doing that better than anybody in the world? And, how can I help them with something that they'd be happy to help me accomplish my goals, And then just listen to the goddamn advice. Follow the advice. And some people don't, some people want to do it their way. Like, as if I'm going to, I'm 42, I'm almost 43. As if I'm going to invent like a better fighting strategy than a guy who's been thinking about that for 20 years, fought many of the toughest men in the world, yep. Beat most of them. Yep. Like, as if I'm going to just invent that by myself. Think how stupid that would be, Or like, if we're talking about finance, if we're talking about the stock market, it's like, there's things I know about the stock market you're not going to find out by yourself. Like, you're just not. Mm-hmm. So, I try to point out some of those things that you're not going to read it in a book. You're not going to go back to school. Even if you went back to school, they wouldn't teach you this stuff. So, you're not going to invent that stuff. So, it's very useful for us to talk about those topics together. But there's some people, it'd be very few people here. It'd be very few people in this particular audience. But there's people out there in the public that, I'll just figure it out by myself. I'm just going to do it by myself. But could you be a 3-time champion? Not just a champion, but 3-time champion. Could you do that without fantastic coaches and trainers, mentors, etc.? How would that have worked out?
No, exactly. And even, of course, this is an individual sport, but in that individual sport, it takes the team around you. And even more important than that, not just the bodies and the training partners, but it takes great coaches and great coaching staffs and great leaders, people who have been there, done that, people who have coached other champions. But I live my life by 2 basic principles: work extremely hard and surround yourself with the best people possible. And that's what I have done. And that's why even in my career, I started in Las Vegas, went to San Diego to seek out better training partners and better coaches. Went to Arizona to seek out better coaches and training partners. Then I ended up in Florida. Same reason, same vein, seek out the best coaches and best training partners for me. That doesn't mean any of the other training partners and coaches weren't great coaches. They just weren't perfect for me at that point in my life. And going back to what you were saying too, you will never ever regret the hard work that you put in. And on the same token, on the other side of the token, you also can't be upset at the results that you didn't get from the work that you didn't put in. And we see that all too often. People sit there and say, man, well, I don't get why this didn't work out for me. Well, you, me, Derek, everybody knows exactly why that thing didn't work out, most of the time. Now, granted, of course, there's certain circumstances that are out of your control, but for the most part, we have more control now than we ever have. And man, just like you said, seeking out the best of the best in the fields of boxing, in jiu-jitsu, in wrestling, you guys, in business, entrepreneurship, the market, real estate. These are the type of decisions that you're making that are not only investing in you as a person, but investing in your family, your family's future, your family's future, your community, and then you also attracting those type of people as you continue to gain more status and climb the rungs in life, so that you can also help more people fill their bucket, as we talked about yesterday, filling other people's bucket, which in turn fills your bucket. I mean, I'm here to help you with wrestling, but I've gotten so much out of this by seeing the way that you're putting things together, seeing the way it's flowing. All the while we're strengthening our friendship. I'm learning a ton from you just by being around you, even more than you even realize it. So it's these type of experiences and the type of relationships, all going back to who are you surrounding yourself with most of the time? Who are you looking to as your coaches, your mentors, I don't want to say superiors, but those people? And that's really the way that I look at it too. You have to have the self-awareness and the humility to be coachable. I think my coaches would say that they love me for the reason that I work hard and I do things right, but I think I'm really coachable as well. And there comes with a lot of gratitude and a lot of humility to be coachable, to be a guy who just shows up and says, okay, tell me what to do. If you want me to run through that brick wall, I'll run through that brick wall. If you want me to do 10 reps, I'll do 10 reps. I'll do whatever it takes, because I know you know where you want me to go or where I can go if I just listen to you for long enough. It might not work out today, might not work out next month, but eventually, with the processes that we're putting together and the hard work that we're putting in together, eventually we're going to be successful.
If I can find a coach that can tell me, what to do, and it really helps me a lot, because I'm a nerd thinker guy all the time. I'm always thinking, you're a very, very smart guy too, but you might be more prone to action in some ways. That I got to think about it and burn it in my head, and then I can do it. So if I got a coach that can tell me, we got to do this, and then just put that thought in my head, I don't need a long fucking explanation. Just why is that important? We got to do this because of that. And this because of that. And then I can start building that web. And then the next piece, you do this because of that, you do this because of that, and you don't do this in this situation because of the other thing, and so on and so on. If I can start building that web in my head, then pretty soon you have a good grasp of those fundamentals. And you got to master the fundamentals before you get very creative trying to do it your way. Yeah. But that really helps me a lot. If I know I'm getting advice from a real expert, somebody that did it. You might have a different opinion about this. I'm not sure what your thought is, but I spent 9 years in universities. I got 3 degrees over there, with honors, blah, 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 And it was really useful to me. At the time that I went to school, they still taught you stuff. And I thought it was immensely useful. And, did I need to do that? Nah. I didn't want a job. I quit my last job when I was 19. I haven't had a job in this century. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do it to get a job. I did it because I wanted to learn some things. I wanted to be around people that knew something more than I did. They knew better than me. They knew more than me. And I wanted to absorb that. And I wanted to be around a peer group, which I didn't find until grad school, honestly, of other, high performers that, they're high IQ people and see how they function. And that gave me extraordinary confidence that it's not just IQ, because, in my graduate school, I had an average IQ there probably, and everybody there is very smart, But when I saw what a lot of them were doing with it, I'm like, now wait a minute, like your brain, in theory, works as good as mine, and your goal is to be a consultant. Your brain, in theory, works as mine. Your goal is you want to work 100 hours a week to make, 200 grand? Like, really? Yeah. I think that's the best thing you could figure out to do it yourself, So I thought that was bizarre. It gave me a lot of confidence. Today, the schools aren't the same thing. You may have a different opinion. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't feel like I don't think you can get the same education even at the same universities. You can't get the same education today. They got more rules. They got more all these adjustments they've made that everybody is so sensitive about offending anyone that they don't want to tell you anything as a fact, or that you have to do this, or tell you to work harder. It might cause stress, something like that.
Everybody in college. Getting a college degree would be stressful. Heaven forbid.
I don't think you can even get the same education in university today that we did when we went to school. So I myself, I think of anything new I want to learn, I'm not going back. I already got 3 degrees. I don't need a 4th one. But even if I want to learn something new that was taught in academia, I wouldn't go back to academia for it. I want to go find practitioners, people that are doing the thing in the real world, and I'd like to hire those people to help me. Anything new I want to learn, I want to hire the people they've already done it. They have great experience at it. They're smart enough to explain the mechanisms. How does that work? Why is that important? You got to do it this way, not that way. And then I want to take all the key systems they're already well established and working, and just integrate that as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And then when I see people out there that I'm going to do it myself crowd, is like, I just feel bad for their future. Yeah. I feel bad for their daughter that they're not going to be able to pay for her braces. Mm-hmm. I feel bad for their son that he's going to be they're not going to be able to afford a gym membership or some sports equipment. He's going to go to school with a Walmart T-shirt, and the kids are going to make fun of him because dad or mom didn't care enough to invest in themselves to have the best romantic partner they could have, the best life partners they could have, have the smartest and most advantaged children they could have. And I really agree with your comment about that. Like, you're not just doing things for yourself. That you people, and I mean you people that have gone through this program with me, like, you learn things that are going to not only advance your future and your monetary well-being, but your families. You're going to have a better significant other. You're going to have more respect in your peer group and higher quality peers because of that. Your children are going to have opportunities that maybe you didn't, or that I didn't, etc. And like that, there's layers and layers of that. A good education early in life, or understanding how to create pragmatic outcomes consistently, that can change your whole life it can change your whole life, but it can also change the life of people around you, the people and the things that you care about. You have a lot of ability to impact the world. It's not just you. You have a lot of ability to impact the world in ways that'll be pleasing to you and also helpful for others.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, that's good too. Sorry to jump in because as you were saying that too, because we spoke about this last night. You're like, why do we do what we do, and what motivates us, and we both had different reasons. And right now we just got done talking about with the investments that you're making in yourself, time, money, energy, resources, the work that you're putting in, how it's going to affect your lineage moving forward. And even for me, and there could be very many people on this call who did have a great upbringing with a great mom and dad. I mean, I could say my mom and dad worked 2 and 3 jobs every single year, nonstop, to give me every single opportunity that I could to be successful. It could be some people on this call that say, well, I didn't have that. I wish I would have had that. And you can look at that in two different ways. You look at a guy like me with a background like me. One of the reasons I work so hard, because if I don't, it flies in the face of all the hard work that my mom and dad had done. It negates all of the hard work that my mom and dad did, all of the hours and time and energy that they sacrificed to give me every opportunity to be successful. And we were just I don't mean we were a below middle class family. You know, we didn't have a lot of money. We were not a well-to-do family. I didn't go to private schools and all that kind of stuff. We just were a very average, middle-class, blue-collar, hard-working family. So we didn't have a lot of resources, but we had everything that we needed. We didn't have a lot, but we weren't missing a dang thing. And for me, it negates all of the hard work and the sacrifices that they made in order to give me every opportunity to be successful. And those who didn't have that, you can also look at that as breaking that generational curse or breaking that part of the family tree, where you didn't have those resources, you didn't have the support. Be that for someone else, be that for your family, be that for the future of the lineage, and say that stops right here, right now with me, and moving forward, my insert your name here, the Chandlers move on forward in a way that is going to impact not just our family and our community, but even possibly the world.
Man, thanks for joining, Mike. A lot of respect for you. I appreciate your friendship, and thanks for sharing a bit with my people here.
Of course, thank you. You as well. And you guys too. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
If you are or on your way to be a millionaire or multimillionaire, probably going to want to spend time with my clients. Probably going to want to have a personal relationship with me so we can accelerate that process, get you living up to your maximum potential, earning your maximum wage. You're going to want to click that follow button. You're going to want to click that bell and get notifications. Tune in every Friday. Tune in every Monday. You're going to love what you see. I look forward to having you as a client in the future.